So I learned something.
What'd you learn?
So I have a Sony camera and a Nikon camera.
Okay.
I learned this week that it is not pronounced Nikon.
It's pronounced Nikon?
Nikon.
Is it a Japanese company?
It's a Japanese company. Yeah.
Nikon.
3.8 out of 5.
Whoa, no.
That just doesn't work for us.
Okay.
Sound. Speeding. Camera. Rolling. Scene 73. Take 303. Mark.
No half, a no half stars on take 303. No half, a no half, a no half stars on take 303. Alright, No half, a no half, a no half stars on take 303.
Welcome to Take 303, powered by 4-Way Media, the podcast with a guy who knows a lot about film.
And his friend.
I'm Nick Molinari.
I'm JP Brooks. We're talking everything film and television, and today we are talking about Godzilla -1.
But first, in cinematic news.
Cinematic news!
Inside Out 2.
Yes.
It achieves the highest grossing opening weekend of 2024 and the second best in Pixar history.
Adjusted for inflation, no, but technically in Pixar history, yes.
$295 million globally.
Insane.
Glenn Powell. I have a really strong post coming out tomorrow about this.
Wow, who's Glenn Powell?
He's the guy in Anybody But You, the Sydney Sweeney movie
That
that
guy?
you definitely didn't watch.
Yeah, I definitely don't watch
Definitely didn't watch that one.
I don't know who Sydney Sweeney is, so
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
That blonde girl, she's like in a lot of things lately.
Okay,
Yeah.
but what about Glenn Powell?
Glenn Powell is kind of killing it right now. He was in that. He was in Richard Linklater's Hitman that just came out.
Okay.
And I saw that. It is so good. I think he is this generation's Patrick Swayze.
Really?
Anyone But You is his Dirty Dancing.
Okay.
Hitman is his Roadhouse.
Okay.
His version of Ghost, where he makes a critically acclaimed film, gets the Oscars and everything. That one's on the horizon.
What was his thing that made him famous?
He was in Top Gun. 2.
Ah, right.
That was like his biggest thing. Then Anyone But You really put him on the map. But he's been around since we were kids, realistically.
Yeah, I've heard that name forever.
He had a bit part in Spy Kids 3.
Okay.
He was in Expendables 3.
Not sure if you're proud of that, but keep going.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring him up is because he was in Hidden Figures. And he said that he was really like just scraping by at that time. And he was only making $35,000 for that movie.
Wow.
So when someone says they're only making $35,000,
But they're also spending, $250 million on a budget, so
Yeah.
that's nothing.
yeah, I know it's a drop in the water, but for regular people, that could be someone's entire salary for an entire year.
That's for an actor of who, like, a name you've heard around to hear they're only getting that much, that piece of the pie. Because even if a movie was $100 million, that's not even 1% of the total budget's going to him.
What's your cinematic news?
My cinematic news, it's only cinematic because I mean, he's an actor, he's a singer probably first, but Justin Timberlake, the prominent star of Trolls.
I've seen the memes.
Yeah, the memes have been interesting. Unfortunately, arrested for a DUI. His court date is on July 20-something. There's always something in the summer that brings the internet together. I imagine his court trial will be highly televised. I wonder. We'll see. There's always something that brings the internet together in summer. Today, I don't even really want to talk about the movie that much. We will. But what this movie means for the movie world is a big fuck you to Hollywood right now.
And we'll hear more about that after the break.
Everybody has a vision. Everybody has a dream. Something that needs to be captured on the big screen. We at 4-Way Media love taking your passion projects and bringing them to life on the big screen. Whether you're a small business, a passionate artist, or a small business owner, with expert videography and photography, we're going to take what you love to do, what you love to make, and transform it into a cinematic experience. 4-Way Media.
And we're back, and we're talking about Godzilla -1.
Godzilla -1 stars Ryunosuke Kamaki, Minami Hamabe, Yuki Yamada, Munetaka Aoki, Hidetaka Yoshioka, Sakura Ando, and Kuronosuke Sasaki. Godzilla -1 follows Koichi, a kamikaze pilot.
Former kamikaze pilot.
Yeah. Former kamikaze. He failed.
You had one job.
The movie takes place sometime after World War II, after the tragic and historic events of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As Koichi tries to live with the guilt of coming home, Japan also has to deal with the threat and the after effects of the war with Godzilla, who comes and attacks Japan. That's what this movie is all about.
You would think as a writer I would be better at summing up things.
Honestly, doing it pretty much 73 times, you get really good at it.
All right, so I know you're excited today. You have a
Very
new
excited.
shirt on.
It was supposed to be a Godzilla shirt. Instead, I put
Can you
on...
scoot to your left or right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
How's
there
that?
he is.
This is Tokyo Ghoul, an anime from Japan. So wanted to wear something to represent since it is a Japanese film. I didn't know Godzilla Minus One was a Japanese film. We got into it. Very happy to read my movie because what an excellent movie it was.
Oh, I went in knowing it was Japanese, but I don't know if you know this one. There were 2 versions that were released.
Oh, I didn't know that.
One was in color and one was in black and white.
Ooh. Did you watch Black and White, you pretentious fuck?
No. If I could, I would.
Yeah.
Netflix only had the color one.
Yeah.
But I believe the black and white came out first, and then they re-released it in color because the original Godzilla was black and white.
Yeah.
And I saw the trailer for that because I was curious what it would look like, and I was like, oh my god, it is definitely worth it to see it in black and white. It changes the way you look at this character.
It's also the time frame. It really we associate black and white with the 40s, the 50s, the time before color.
I mean, they do a great job where it doesn't feel like, oh, these are people in 2024 pretending they're in the 1940s.
Yeah.
You definitely feel immersed in the 1940s. But going in, I knew nothing about this. I didn't even know what the title meant until after I read about it later on. Do you know what it is? When you're at 0 as a country, you're at the bottom.
Right.
And this is right at the end of World War II once they got bombed. So they're at 0, and now they got Godzilla, so now they're -1.
That makes sense. I've been thinking about that, man. Interesting.
First initial reactions, what were you thinking?
Man, this is a film. This is cinema. This is why you go to the movie theaters. I wish I could have saw it in a theater.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
To think that we ended up seeing Godzilla X Kong and then Godzilla vs. Kong and all this bullshit, and then we missed out on this.
Godzilla, the New Empire, Godzilla and Kong, that is what you show to your kids when they're 5 to keep them entertained for 2 hours. But when they grow up and go to college and you want them to feel something, you want them to move and truly experience what art is, you show them Godzilla -1.
Honestly, I told Eddie this yesterday because he's been talking about, he saw it in theaters. He saw it, the original. But I told him, I was like, the ending especially, it felt like Spielberg made this.
This is the art craft. This is the form right here. This is all, I joke about the pretentious stuff. This is all worth it. This is why you make movies. And this is also one, too, that I've been... people that I hang out with that listen to the podcast, there's one movie that I still get told, please review this movie. It's Godzilla -1.
We have to talk special effects. So good.
Remember Argyle?
Yeah. Oh, my God. $15 million budget for this. I just kept thinking about $15 million. And to me, I'm like, $15 million is a lot. It is a life-changing amount of money. But in Hollywood, that could be one day.
It's a drop in the
set.
bucket.
Yeah. To make a movie on this scale, especially with Godzilla itself, some people barely get by making indie films at $15 million, where it's just people talking to each other.
People think if you throw money at something, the more money you put into something, the more you get out of it. That's true, but up to a certain point. So I think what really needs to change is fine-tuning that line. I think they expect to make so much money, so they're not afraid to spend it. And maybe some of these people that they hire, the companies they get, they know they're willing to spend it. And so it's like, hey, well, listen, you're going to make $400 million on this. Spend an extra $10 million here. And if enough companies and other people say that, next thing you know, 10 companies say that, that's another $100 million. So who knows? I don't know why, but it's ridiculous. And the fact that this movie is probably better than 95% of the movies that have come out in the past 5 years from Hollywood is just a big FU.
And I just looked it up while you were talking. Something like Little Miss Sunshine. Great movie. $8 million budget. That's half of a Godzilla. The visual effects in this look stunning, especially for the price on it. They just look stunning in general. I think maybe 1 or 2 shots, it looks a little funky, like Expendables kind of CGI, particularly in the smoke particles. But otherwise, they definitely put all their money on the body of Godzilla. And those shots look incredible.
They did a very Jaws-like thing. Where most of this movie is not actually about Godzilla. It's about the people. The movies that tend to do well across the consensus critics' consensus, is the movie where the humans are interesting.
That was a lot of our gripes with Godzilla X Kong, where we kept saying, like, a lot of these people aren't really necessary and they don't have arcs.
So many characters today are made to be bland and uncontroversial. The main character of this movie is a kamikaze pilot, and yet you resonate with him and you feel for him. And it's about a subject that even today the United States still reflects on, thinks heavily on. It's still debated in schools all around the country about whether it was right or wrong.
And if you even take the kamikaze pilot as a prime example of differences between the United States and overseas warfare, no person in the American military, Navy, Army, whatever it is told specifically, like, your job is to die on the front lines. Whereas in other countries, other cultures, that is an honor.
To die for country.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different layers here. So I think it means even more for Japanese people, but we can still understand it as an outsider.
To say that I will fully understand the depths of what Japan has gone through as a country, that obviously not, but it gives you an idea and a lens, and you can sympathize and empathize, even with somebody who, you know, would be considered by our terms be the quote-unquote enemy.
We can say that as, you know, Americans, we never were at zero.
Yeah.
Other countries don't have that. And if we think even about World War II, we fought in World War II, but in different countries. The fighting never happened over here.
Yeah.
We haven't had a war over here since the Civil War.
Yeah, it changes your perspective on everything. We're talking about a Godzilla movie right now.
Yeah.
And that's how deep and how much emotion and heart and really thought-provoking Godzilla -1 is. It's definitely one you have to watch twice.
One of the things I couldn't help but notice is that Godzilla has so much more importance in this than it does in Godzilla X Kong and other movies like that, where the movement, he is always moving slowly in this. He is never running around slam dunking King Kong all over the place.
Welcome to the slam. Looney Tunes versus... Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it really does. So, like, when I was looking at this, I was like, wow, it's so incredible to see a Godzilla that, yeah, this huge creature moves so slowly, but have that much more at stake, and then also looked scarier.
Oh, yeah, terrifying. One of the best, I think, versions of Godzilla we've seen on this big screen.
And the usage of the original theme song in the film definitely had those Jaws vibes that made it scarier.
I think the writing's pretty good. Do you have any issues with the writing?
I have one gripe about the writing.
Okay, let me hear it.
One tiny nitpicky gripe.
Sure.
It happens in the, like, second scene of the movie. When he's at Odo Island, Godzilla first appears.
Okay.
I get why he has to appear for the story. I think his face could have been held back from it. But writing wise, I didn't like how everybody on the island knew of Godzilla's legend and everything. It felt very exposition-y.
I think that's fair.
It felt like a cheap add-on. That's literally the only time I felt it, though.
Otherwise, yeah, I mean, you care about the characters, you feel for them. How do you feel about Godzilla in this movie? I don't know if I've ever felt this way about Godzilla in any other film.
I really liked him here as opposed to the American versions of it as of late. I didn't necessarily feel like I don't think we're meant to identify with him because he is, like, as you said in that last episode we did, that he's just wrecking shit. Like, he just does his own thing. And I think you asked, like, who do I identify more with, King Kong or Godzilla? And I said I lean Kong because he has more of a what's it, like, the anamorphize, like they make him more human in a sense, and you can understand him and his goals and his wants and desires and all that stuff. And Godzilla, they don't really do that. They hint at it a bit of, like, just trying to keep the peace, like, get rid of the bad guys and stuff like that. But this one is just existing and just going around. And I think I like this better because, again, it wasn't about the monster, it was about the people. And if you think about it, it goes back to, like, the old Hollywood monster movies of, like, Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy and the Wolfman.
This one, -1, feels like he's a monster.
I had a lot of original Jurassic Park vibes in this one.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, the pacing and the movement and how they, like, built up to some of those bigger scenes. You've seen all the Jurassic Parks?
I've seen the first two. I've seen all the ones that with Chris Pratt, and I've seen the two original. I never saw Jurassic Park 3, the original.
Gotcha. You don't need to see that one. There's a dinosaur that talks. It's
what? There's a dinosaur that talks in Jurassic Park 3?
It's a dream sequence.
That's all I'm getting out of this podcast episode. What?
It's a dream sequence,
and
people meme it all the time.
Okay.
Alan from the first one, he's on a plane and he has like PTSD from Jurassic Park. So he dreams up that there's a raptor sitting next to him on the plane, and he says, "Hi, Alan."
Wow, the third one sounds really goofy.
Now I know the Japanese movie. There's a phrase for it. It's the gaiju or
Kaiju movies, yeah.
What does kaiju mean?
Kaiju, I literally think means big monster, but let me double check.
Okay, because I was curious if it meant monster, because monster has different connotations, whereas creature is not as monstrous.
Giant monster. Yeah, it's pretty much
okay.
It. Strange beast.
A beast or a creature is something different. It could be terrifying, but not necessarily. A monster is definitely on top of you.
Preternatural creatures of divine power. They are not merely big animals. Other examples are kaiju, Mothra.
So let's talk about characters. You talked a lot about people. Who's standing out to you?
I mean, the only guy I really care about is our pilot, because even though the other people he meets and he runs into are all interesting in their own right, the scene that really wins it, where you feel for him, and I think it won me over. I don't want to spoil it, so you may want to.
When he's talking to the girl,
yeah,
and explaining his past, yeah,
explaining his past, and also the part where like he thinks he's dreaming.
Obviously, as the main character, he's the most interesting.
Yeah,
I do think the girl is also another interesting character. I didn't see the twist, not necessarily a twist, but the surprise at the ending.
Yeah.
Also, I love the guys on the boat. They're
Yep.
all just very fun characters, especially the young kid who's like, "I want to go to war." He's like, "No, you don't."
How like propaganda and things work of like kid wants to go to war, and I think as some people who are viewing it in 2024, that means a lot more and means differently to us than it does then.
A lot of war movies have that. Like I'm thinking of like Dunkirk, the kid on the boat. He was like dying to be a part of things. But war is always sensationalized. There's a lot of nationalism involved. Even American Sniper, the beginning about recruiting straight out of high school.
The themes of this movie about being anti-war and guilt and repercussions of war, like you've seen that in movies before. This one also just it's got Godzilla in it. Like, so it makes it's a great movie. You should really do yourself a favor and watch this movie. I might watch it again tonight.
I would rewatch it. I asked my dad if he wanted to watch it. He was like, he's not a subtitle guy.
Yeah, you don't read movies either. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to dub that for him.
Ooh. I actually think this you really should watch the subtitles.
You do miss things.
Yeah.
As I learned from Attack on Titan. In terms of favorite scenes, I know the last scene is incredible.
Yeah,
the climax. But outside of that, I love the train sequence.
Train sequence is good. I like the boat scenes with the machine gun just because it reminds you of Jaws a little bit, and I was like a lot of callback. Godzilla using his atomic breath.
Yeah, when it first revved up, I think when they first get saved by the bigger boat, like I really gasped. I was like, damn. It takes you by surprise. So it's nice. It's very refreshing to see a movie that you can't predict everything.
Final thoughts or ratings. Godzilla -1. I understand the hype now. All the people have been bugging us to watch it. It makes a ton of sense. I think it says a lot. Hollywood should be taking notes from what Godzilla -1 did. Notes on their CGI, spending $250 million on CGI crap. I think of Indiana Jones. I think of Argyle. I think of literally anything that's been produced by Disney or some big mega company. The CGI, which has been total trash. What are you spending your money on? Godzilla -1 feels like in a lot of ways throws down the gauntlet, says fuck you to Hollywood. We can make a better movie, and we can do it with literally 10% of the money. That being said, it's a fantastic movie. This is not a movie. This is film. This is peak art, peak cinema. And I can't believe I just said that about a movie with Godzilla in it. I am giving Godzilla -1 5 out of 5.
Before I begin mine, I just want to issue a formal apology that we did not review this last year, because this is clearly top 10 material. Should have been a part of the Broscars. So we apologize to this country.
If we could do a rewrite, we apologize to the country.
This is a call to action to Hollywood to reconfigure what we're doing. Either the Japanese people are working for dirt cheap, or we are being paid way too much. There's got to be something in the middle. We just have to open up the books and see what's happening here. But really, we need to go to bare bones filmmaking, work on characters, not necessarily lean our entire budgets on CGI. People don't come for the CGI. People were able to watch an almost 2-hour movie. You can make a brisk movie and not focus everything on CGI. It's fun to have, but it was always a supplemental tool. Nowadays, we're just using it as the baseline of everything. So we need to reconfigure what we're doing. This is a very amazing movie. It is a beautiful movie. I think I will watch it again just because I want to see it in black and white. So hopefully Netflix drops the black and white version. They can do that Snyder cut, version, like where not have Zack Snyder attached to this, but show us the black and white version.
Yeah.
It's a 5 out of 5 for me.
This has been another episode of Take 303. Thanks so much for watching, especially those on YouTube. You can also follow us at 4way_media, our producers and sponsors, and Take.303 on Instagram. Catch all the highlights, the reels, everything that comes out before the episodes come out. This week's question of the week is, which Godzilla is your favorite from all the movies that Godzilla's been? Which version of him? Whether you like it because it's animated better, look, whatever the reason is, who is your favorite Godzilla from which movie and why? Our poll question of the week is, if Godzilla Minus One were to have a sequel, which monster would you want to see? Catch us next time when we watch A Quiet Place Day 1. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.